Geology and tectonic plates versus Plato and Atlantis. Age of oceanic lithosphere. The geological reality is formally opposed to Plato's thesis, and here is why Atlantis could not be swallowed up by the Atlantic Ocean, as he said, and the reason is called tectonic plates. Ocean's bottom, crossed by huge mountain ranges, the oceanic ridge, most of the time invisible, is hidden by miles deep dark waters, and is therefore our planet's major geological specificity. There are major geological characteristics. With an average height of 4,900 yards above the ocean's bottom, that means about Mont Blanc height. This range is spreading all over the world, zigzagging between continents. It's about 44,000 miles long, on an average width of 500 miles or so, and makes the Earth's longest mountain range. But since it's underwater, we normally don't pay attention to it. But it does deserve a careful attention, for many incredible achievements happen years after year, well hidden under the sea. Part of the ridge may appear here and there, emerging as mountaintops. They make pelagic islands, that is to say the open sea islands in the geology in Navy language, concerning the Atlantic ridge, emerging, for example, at the Azores, which is the joint of the North American plate, African plate, and the Eurasian plate, or even Iceland, the land of ice and fire with its glaciers and volcanoes. Iceland is the most significant example of oceanic ridge emerging. Its numerous volcanoes, like the one with the tricky name that went off around 2010, in April of 2010, poisoning the European, American, African skies, are ridge's activity spots. So researchers may observe the ridge without having to leave dry land for that reason. The key of tectonic plates, the ridge is the matrix where the magma from the deep is added to existing crust. The further away from the ridge, the older are the rocks. The ocean's bottom is constantly recycling, and this curious phenomenon evokes a biological process as snake sloughing. Why wondering about Earth's molting? Now, it's not a living being, but French geologist Claude Auberge and other scientists developed the theory called tectonic plates. It was accepted very quickly by the world scientific community. And continental drift. Another consequence is oceanic ridge activity leads to a phenomenon called continental drift. It started, they say, 250 million years ago or even earlier, and before that process was going on, all emerged lands formed one continent called Pangaea. This means whole earth in Greek. Pangaea. This monocontinental theory was imagined by Alfred Wegener, who dated his Pangaea about 300 million years old. As for Allegri's tectonic plates, today the Wegener hypothesis has become a scientific truth, clearly showing that geology is more dynamic and open-minded than archaeology. Now, at the end of the paper, embarrassing to locate Atlantis Island as Plato did, right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, the ridge growing for millions of years forbids a large island's presence. Probably we must pay attention to Plato's Timaeus, not only generally, but to the letter of the text. And should we accept the verbatim text of Plato or reject the entirety of one statement that seems wrong? So we can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Plato is not a joker. His dialogues are not reputed humorous or fanciful, let alone BS. The news should have come from Homer, the Hydra, or from Pythagoras, the singular, even from Heraclitus the obscure. One would lend much less credit, but it's been transmitted by most serious and best documented wise men of ancient Greece. Plato did not lie, or even embroider or improvise his texts. He gave us all the information we had in his possession. Methodically, as he ever did, it turns out that Atlantis disappeared the space of a terrible night where a violent tsunami ravaged both coasts of the Atlantic Ocean. If the huge island disappeared, it can only be swallowed up. Everyone would have concluded, as a philosopher did. Another hypothesis, it will disconnect more than one. What if Atlantis had flown away? Okay. Now, we'll think about what the Emerald Tablets written by Thoth the Atlantean said, that it sank and it was sinking slowly. Others say within months, others say within thousands of years. And some Atlanteans had the chance to go somewhere else around the world, setting up new cities with plateaus of pyramids and high technology taking along with them as well. Now, Plato was not mistaken. He made a logical assumption, the only one he could conceive at that time. Then his sources were not first-hand as well. And you can wonder about hidden meanings and opportunities of errors. Misunderstandings are unavoidable in the transition of information. It's like a broken telephone over long periods of time. So we have to keep in mind that in Plato's time, the disappearance of Atlantis went back several millennia. To find the clue of the puzzle, and you could try, finding more about researching more about this topic. But it could be for example, the Mediterranean emptying and flooding and emptying and flooding. It could be the Mediterranean. It could be other areas of very huge geologic upheavals. And let's remember that they say about the Younger Dryas about 13,000 years ago. We had a comet strike, not just in one location, North America or Northern Europe, a comet that was broken up in various pieces that hit worldwide. And maybe they were referring to that, causing, of course, tsunamis and inundating coastlines. And of course, that would have done away with cultures as well. We know that did away with the Clovis culture in North America, for example. This is from the Egan Saga and my input as well. I'll leave below links for you, and please leave me your comments about this. It could be that, as we see, if you see the video before this one, North America could very well be the Atlantis described by Plato, encompassing all of the Atlantic Ocean. We should keep in mind the astonishing fact that the mitochondrial DNA, the native Indians of North America, especially around the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence Seaway, the St. Lawrence Basin, are from Minoan ancient Greek DNA. And also the fact that 500,000 tons of copper have been removed from the mines of the Great Lakes areas and taken back, of course, obviously by trade routes established by ancient Greeks, shows that there was a connection between the Mediterranean and North America. Across from Britain, Iceland, Greenland, the Arctic Ocean, the Arctic area of Hyperborea, which is the extreme Arctic, all the way to Labrador of Canada and into the Great Lakes region. And that was a trading route that they had. The fact that a professor from a Maine university in 1851 wrote a letter to the chiefs of the Native American Indians in ancient Greek, written in ancient Greek, because that was their native tongue and their language. He wrote them in ancient Greek because that's what they understood. Amazing what we found out. Please leave your comments. Thank you so much for your support. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, And we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.